Om Shanti Charlie, good evening. I'm very welcome to this series of seniors sharing their story. And so my first question to you is, how did you come to Baba? How did you find Baba?
First of all, thank you so much, Pedro. Well, actually, if I go back quite a bit, I grew up in Melbourne, and I think I was always quite a searcher. I was searching for something, and my nickname at school, my friends called me Swami because they used to feel that I loved to talk about philosophical things and so on. But I I was really searching for something, and I went to university, and I was studying architecture. But after a year or so, I said to my parents that, I just feel there's something more important in life than this at the moment. So I took time out and I traveled across the world, and I just had no fixed agenda. I flew to Kuala Lumpur and I went through Malaysia, Thailand, right through Burma, India, right through the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iran, all overland, right to London. But the whole way, I ended up living in religious communities. And I lived with Sikhs, and I lived with Buddhists, and I lived with Muslims during Ramadan. I went to the Ganges and dipped my toes in the Ganges. I went to where the Dalai Lama lived in India, and I spent time there. I went on a little pilgrimage in Afghanistan to some of the great mosques. I lived in a Christian community in Belgium. So I was really searching for something, and I settled in London. I was working in London, and my search continued. And I used to go to a place called the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain, which is in Hyde Park Corner. And one day I saw a little notice which said, Sister Jayanti oh no, it was actually BK Jayanti. I didn't know that was a man or a woman, was going to give a talk on meditation. And I'd been trying to meditate. So I went along, and Daddy and Jayanti Ben were both there. And as soon as I saw them, I could feel they had experienced something. Because as I was traveling, living in all those religious communities, I found personally that I loved what I heard, but my question was, how do you experience? How do you convert this theory, these beliefs, this doctrine into an internal spiritual experience? And as soon as I saw Daddy and Genty Ben's faces, I could tell they were having internal experience. So that was my first connection, and Daddy invited us to the center. I was just 22 years old at the time.
It's so nice to hear some part of your story, Charlie. So one of my questions you already told me, but as a child, what kind of research did you have inside? What were you expecting to find as an adult, as a man? Did you find that you were searching for? Did you find all? Did you find more than that, maybe?
Well, as a child, as I was saying, I was really searching, and I went a lot into um, justice, trying to find justice in the world. And I used to, at that time, Australia was supporting America in the war in Vietnam, and I used to go on demonstrations. At that time, also, there was apartheid in South Africa. I used to go on demonstrations. You know, um, I was really looking for truth and justice in the world. But I had an experience once. I went to a march against the war in Vietnam in Canberra, which is the capital of Australia. And as we were marching and sort of yelling anti-war slogans, all the students got quite excited, and one thing led to another. I was arrested and I was put in the federal prison, the main prison of the city, with about 200 other young people. And we began to sing John Lennon songs. In those days, John Lennon was like that famous song about peace. And when things quietened down, everyone was talking, and these were the peace leaders in Australia, student peace leaders. And I realized as I began to hear the conversations that we were such an angry, negative, and peaceless group of people. And it dawned on me so deeply, you're never going to create peace in the world with this approach, this negative approach, reacting to others' negativity. So that's really, I was already spiritual, but that's when I really began to take it more seriously. To sort of understand more deeply, I had to learn about myself. And I can remember realizing that as much as I had a good education, I was so uneducated about my inner world, how to manage my thoughts and emotions. So I really became much more interested in the spiritual journey at that point of time.
So externally, you were maybe doing things that they were supposed to be peaceful, but inside you weren't feeling, you weren't having those experiences.
Well, we were demonstrating against all the injustice in the world, but we were demonstrating with the same energy, of peacelessness and judgment and negativity. And I realized that unless we change, the world won't change. The problem in the world is human beings, and I was a part of the problem. I thought I was trying to create the solution, but I was also a part of the problem.
So getting deeper in once you get to the Yagya, I wanted to ask you how long did it take you to actually recognize Baba? So I imagine once you got there, maybe you didn't get all hearing Daddy Yankee talking about all the knowledge. How long did it take you to actually understand that this was God behind all this knowledge?
When I was young, at 12 years old, I was confirmed in the church. My parents sent me to church, and after some months, every Sunday, I would go and learn about the church. And I was only 12, and one day they asked me, "What have you learned?" And I said, "I think I'm an atheist," because I couldn't relate to a God who is so judgmental, punishing, etc. And yet, as I was traveling, as I was sharing, I became an agnostic. I was like, I don't know who is God. I don't know. So I had a reservation about the religious sort of form of God. And when I did the course, Sudesh Didi gave me the course. And as soon as I was introduced to Baba, it made so much sense to me straight away. Intellectually, I'm a soul, God's a soul. I take birth and rebirth. God's beyond that. It all fitted in intellectually. But I wouldn't say there was a sense of connection or relationship. And one day, about 2 weeks after I'd finished the course, I was going to the center. I was just starting the Morley. And I left the center, and as I was walking down the road, I was thinking so deeply, who is Baba who's speaking the Morley? Who is... And suddenly I had this incredible experience of almost like a pause button on time. I felt like it was an eternal moment. And I felt so immersed in Baba. And I felt completely loved to the core of my being. Like I felt absolutely immersed in the ocean of love. And the feeling was like, I've come home. This is where I belong. And I can honestly say since that day, I've never, ever doubted for 1 second who Baba is, that Baba is God. But then I went to Madhubam, and Daddy sent me after a few months. I'd only been practicing a few months. And on the first day or second day when I arrived, I met Baba in the history hall. And I really wasn't sure what to expect. I had already accepted that, yes, this is the Supreme Soul, this is God. And Baba spoke the Murli. There was probably 50, 60 people there. And then we were invited to sit in front of Baba. And Baba gave long drishti. And his drishti, I felt, went right to the core of my being and scanned, all the memory track, all the sanskaras. And somehow he pulled out the original sanskaras, the elevated sanskaras. He sort of reconnected me to my true self. And I feel that night was when I really recognized even deeper that this is Baba, this is who I've been looking for, and this is where I belong. It was a fantastic experience, wonderful.
So I guess you found your eternal father once again.
I did. And Pedro, he asked me two questions then. I'd been in Guyana a few months, and Baba said, "Do you have one Shiv Baba and none other?" And I said, "Yes." Because you can't really say no. And then Baba said, "Are you stable on drama?" And I said, "Yes." I should have definitely said no to that. But, in a way, I felt Baba, in those two questions, Baba sort of defined my effort for my Brahman journey. Because I honestly believe the most powerful point of spiritual knowledge is to have all relationships with one Baba. My observation of the souls who really progress, who really deeply transform, who really grow very elevated spiritually, is they have all relationships with one. And I feel that's really been like a foundation of my own journey and with Baba. Mm.
Okay, thank you. It's really nice hearing all this. Really inspiring. And I guess Baba is the one that help you the most in this transformation. But also, I would like to ask you, what role did the daddies have in your transformation? How did they help you? Uh, if you could explain.
Yeah. I mean, when I started, I think there was 60 plus daddies. There were so many older sisters, and all of them were so special. And I suppose one of the things I felt was that they lived for 14 years in an enclosed community in Karachi with Bap Dada. I've often thought, what karma did those souls do to live with God and the number one human soul like Brahma, Adam, for 14 years? And Baba trained them to become soul conscious. And that's why I think the daddies had such a unique vibration. They were so clean, so pure, so light, so divine in a natural way. And they had a huge influence on me. And I think what I felt from Daddy Janki, because she was the first one I met, is that she could see something in me which I couldn't see in myself at first, to be honest. I mean, she had such an elevated vision on me, and she would see me like this, and I would see myself like this. And I think that their drishti, their good wishes, their love really inspired me to grow and, step into my part of last cycle. So Daddy Janki's elevated vision I found really amazing. But Daddy G's, the way she worked with people, um, her love and good wishes for absolutely everybody. To me, she's like the ideal role model as a leader. She was completely humble, and she held the value of everyone in her attitude too. And that is such a powerful thing of a leader. She knew the value of everyone. And so her drishti, her behavior created an incredible unity. And both of them really inspired me. And Daddy Gulzar's purity, incredible. You know, once Baba said to her, "You've never had an impure thought in this life." And I think what Baba meant by that, that she'd never had any attraction to a human being in any form in this life. So all the daddies had specialties, and there's many others as well that have totally, in a way, you learn from Baba, but you could see the result of the study in them. They were like wonderful examples for us. Mm.
So I guess that that was the experience you were looking for at the beginning,
It's true, yeah.
and their self transformation made you transform yourself, and also you transform others in that way, since you transform yourself.
Absolutely. You know, I think that Baba teaches us the theory, and for the daddies, Brahma Baba was such a great example. But for us, Brahma Baba, of course, but we didn't meet him physically. But the daddies were such an amazing example. And I just love their humility. They never, like, if you look at gurus and leaders and spiritual teachers these days, there's so much sort of ego, shall we say, and yet they were more than humble. And sometimes, when they weren't on the stage, or they were just like children, they would play like children. We would have so much fun. They could play. The first time I went to Madhaban, once we had a Brahma Bhojan, and that's when you sit down and eat together. Brahma Baba used to do it. You sit in lines on the ground and people come and feed you. And at the end, they served ice cream. And they gave us all ice cream. And Didi Manmohini, who was the co-head with Daddy Prakashmani, she got her ice cream and poured it all over Daddy. Then Daddy got her ice cream, poured it all over, and everywhere ice cream went everywhere. And I really loved it that, we don't have to be always formal and I'm the leader, I'm in charge. They were just like children in that way. And it was just there was so much fun in their spiritual life as well, you know, really happiness. And the ultimate result to me of this life is to be happy. And they just generated so much happiness. I could tell you so many stories of the fun that we used to have.
So you would say that being egoless makes you maybe greater, being free from ego, being simple.
100%, because in a way, becoming soul conscious is becoming egoless. And that really means that nothing hurts me, nothing offends me. I don't accept any insults. I never feel disrespected or excluded. And that's freedom, because all of us, whoever we are, walk into this life with a lot of ego, and often the ego of superiority that I'm better, or the ego of inferiority that I'm worse or I'm inferior. And it's usually that inferiority of ego, which is very powerful. And so we become, when we have ego, we have so much sensitivity. We're so sort of delicate inside, worried what other people think, all that stuff. And to free myself from that and just be so authentic and natural and soul conscious in that way, it's so attractive. And that's why the daddies were such great leaders, because they were so humble. They just felt, I'm just an instrument of Baba. All the praise is of Baba. It's not of me. Whereas the gurus accept the praise and this sort of thing. Whereas I feel a true instrument of Baba accepts the blessings and good wishes, but doesn't sort of have a self-inflated view of who I am.
Exactly. So you just told us a beautiful story about you and the daddies in the Yagya. Is there any story, special story that you have, your favorite story that you want to tell us maybe?
You mean of with Baba or with the daddies.
With Baba or the daddies?
Yeah.
Any experience that you remember the most?
One really special experience for me was the first time I went. I was sitting in the courtyard in Pandav Bhavan, and it was after dinner. And you know how everyone often meets in the courtyard. And I was just sitting there. It was maybe 8:30 p.m. And Sheila came up to me and said, "Come with me. Someone wants to meet you." She didn't say who wanted to meet me. And so I went with her to Baba's room. She took me to Baba's room. And when I went in there, Baba was there. Baba was in Daddy Gulzar. And in those days, it was 1975, Baba would come to meet the daddies. He was still hands-on running the yagya. And they'd had their meeting, and Baba called us in. And there was maybe 15 people in Baba's room. And we sat in front of Baba, and Baba just chatted like a father, so sweetly, so lovely, so caring. And it was just such a natural meeting. And so that sort of really intimate feeling with Baba. But another story I often mention because it was really touching for me. There's so many stories, but um, I had been to New York with Didi Manmohini, and she had gone on tour there in America. And on my way back, I dropped into Madhaban on my way back to Australia. And there was a meeting of all the senior sisters, all the daddies in Madhaban, but there wasn't a scheduled meeting with Baba. They'd just come for a meeting. And Daddy Prakash, when he was reading the Murli, and she kept saying, "Look, all of Baba's beautiful children are here. Baba should come and meet you." And then she'd read a few more lines. And at the end of the Murli, she said, "Gulzar, come, go to Baba." Like this was straight after Murli, 8 a.m. in the morning, like spontaneous. So Daddy Gulzar is so humble. She came and sat, went into trance, and Baba came like 8 a.m. in the morning. And it was an amazing scene because Baba said, "I haven't come to speak a Murli. I've come to fulfill the love of the children." And every single one of those daddies came up to Baba. Baba took them in his arms, Avyak Bab Dada, and he stroked their face and he hugged them, and he felt so much love. And that's where I really realized why the daddies became so great. Baba's love just pulled them beyond all attraction. And I also learned watching that the greatest power is Baba's love. And when I really taste that power of that love can help me face any obstacle, any situation, any old sanskara that comes in my way. Baba was so incredibly loving. And that's really been, I think, such a foundation for my journey. Whenever I sort of go through a slightly difficult patch, I just try to sit in remembrance like a little child, sit in front of Baba and feel myself being loved. And it just cools everything down. To me, that relationship with Baba, Baba is the ocean of love. And the quality of Baba's love, I'll get nowhere else. It's a purity of love that only Baba can give me. And that's really, I feel, what has sustained me in my Brahman life.
So I guess you could say that you met God personally, and only a hand of out of multi-millions can say that. But I guess it was not all flowers and rainbows in the path of knowledge. Maybe you went through some difficulties as well. So I would like to know which difficulties did you face on through your path, and how did you transcend them?
Yes, I mean, really, as Baba always says, storms will come, and sometimes even more than storms. It's like typhoons. And, I think we all have to face that. And I began to realize it's not wrong and it's not going backwards. We all have to face our sanskaras and our past karmic accounts. Probably the biggest challenge, if I reflect at this point for me over a long time, was self-respect. I think when we lack self-respect, it distorts so many things in my thinking. I feel a bit distant from Baba. There's so many effects. There will be conflict with other people, so many things. And I think most of us walk in Baba's door with a lack of self-respect. I certainly did. But I think that that's the gift that Baba has given me over time. And I found the more I've really healed the relationship with myself, that my Brahmin life has become a lot more easy. I've just accepted myself a lot more. I feel a lot relaxed about myself. I know some things I'm okay at, some things I'm not good at, but that's okay. I feel a lot more comfortable with who I am. Because I think at the beginning I was trying to live up to an image. Baba gives us an image of what a BK should be like. And we try to live the image on the surface, but inside often there's a lot of rubbish going around. And I just think I became more and more honest with myself and just said, you are who you are. Other souls have their qualities. You don't have those. You have your own qualities. So I think the biggest thing has really been for me biggest storm in that sort of sense is to really just know who I am, accept who I am, and love who I am as I am. And I think, once Baba said, to the extent you have self-respect, you can respect everyone. To the extent you have self-respect, you will be humble. The expression of self-respect is humility. And to the extent you have self-respect, you will be loving and you will be loved by everyone. And I feel in one way this whole life, it's sort of just that's for me has been just regaining a sense of relationship with myself, a sense of self-respect that is stable. And the more I become stable in self-respect, I feel less and less influenced by all the things that go on in life. But it's a journey. It's certain, and it hasn't been smooth. It's been like that. But yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge that I've had on the journey.
So as you say, by coming back to who you are, you can really reconnect and keep going.
Yes.
And if you had to say one aspect that you like about Mama, about Baba the most, what would you say was the aspect that attracted you the most?
There's so many things that attract me to Baba, but what I really love is his benevolence, and he sees good in every single soul and non-judgmental. When I was young, I really found it distressing how there was so much division in our world based on religion, based on color, based on gender. I just couldn't relate to it. And when I met Baba and Baba said, we're all one family, we're all souls, and to have benevolent feelings for everyone. And I saw a few times Baba's amazing benevolence. And only recently in one of the Avyak Mulis, Baba was saying, children, can you hear the cries of sorrow of the devotees? Because sometimes I think one trap on this journey, we get so self-absorbed, me, how I'm feeling, my spiritual practice. But I really feel that really this life is to remember one and be benevolent to all, like Baba. And that's how, It's almost like a decision. Baba sees the good in everyone. And the ultimate reflection of purity for me is I tune into the value of everyone. And I feel so comfortable in myself when I see the good in others. If I get caught in someone's weakness or defect, I can see my self-respect goes down. I don't really feel as comfortable about who I am. So I absolutely love Baba's benevolence for every single human soul, whoever they may be. Baba has come to uplift everyone. And that's just today. That's my favorite sort of feeling for Baba. I love, Baba's authenticity. He just absolutely speaks the truth about who he is. There's so many things that are so attractive. I love Baba's innocence. The more innocent someone is, you love, that's so attractive. Like a little baby, they attract your love. There's so many aspects to Baba's personality. And to me, a lot of having good yoga is really understanding the personality that there out of 8 billion souls, Baba's personality is the most attractive of all because of that purity, because of that innocence, etc.
Acha. So I know you are a world server. I know you serve Baba all over the world. And if you had to say, what is the virtue that you transmitted the most? What would you say it is? What is your specialty?
What is my speciality? I really feel that I have love for people. I really love people. And I love the variety too. No matter who they are or their background, I feel my attention is to, see the value in others. So I love the Brahmin family, and the reality is all of us are effort makers. All of us have weaknesses. All of us have, our karmic accounts, but still, this family is just an amazing family. I love the company of the Brahmin family, but I also love the company of the souls of the world. So to me, I just, I suppose, really have that love for others. If I can say that's my specialty.
So I guess that makes you almost a deity because you have love for everyone as God have has love for everyone.
Well, I'm not perfect at it by any means, but that intent is there. But over the years, it's always improving. And one of the things interesting, Pedro, is that the more I've gone on, the more detached I've become. I think the more I've remembered Baba, it's almost like that remembrance pulls you beyond influences. And I've found the more detached I am, the more I can love people. I'm not, when you're not influenced by their behavior or their opinions or whatever, the more you can maintain that loving feeling. And honestly, I feel, once I was meeting Baba with a lot of souls who were 30 years in Guyana. And Baba said to us, set a date for perfection. And afterwards, we were all discussing, okay, what does perfection look like? What is perfection in a practical way? Otherwise, it's a very sort of ethereal term. And the next morning, what Baba said was perfection is to have loving feelings for everyone. And I really love that, to live in this world, look at the variety, look at what the behaviors. And yet, Baba has love for everyone. And as we, I think, grow spiritually and we become so detached from everyone, only when you're detached can you really have loving feelings for all types of personalities. Those who love you, those who don't love you, those who respect you, those who don't respect you, and I think that sort of sense of having that goodwill for everyone, it's important for me in my journey.
Thank you for sharing all this. You really transmit angel angel vibes, but maybe there's still some effort you have to make. What would you think what
Oh,
is the effort you still have to make in your Brahmina, if there is any effort?
oh, there's many. But Pedro, I think at the beginning of COVID, I really reflected deeply, where am I at? What do I need? And it may sound simplistic, but I fundamentally, Shiv Baba and Brahma Baba tell us one practice to remember Baba. And so the effort I've really tried to make is to create attention so that I have a sanskara, to really, in a gentle way, not a rigid way, to pay attention to where my intellect travels and to create a habit to remember Baba. So that almost like subconsciously, when your mind's a bit free, you go to Baba, go to Baba, go to Baba, rather than just analyze things, process things, think about the past, just think about whatever people say in front of me. Because that's a habit for 63 births, the wandering mind. So I feel Brahma Baba, what I've learned from him, paid incredible attention to what he remembered. And even if he wandered off when he was eating, he would bring it back. And this is really what I'm trying to do, is really increase my account of remembrance, because that is the fundamental practice of this spiritual life with Baba.
Since you do a lot of Baba service, how can you keep that connection while doing service?
Yeah, that's a great question, because in a way, that is the effort because you can sit in the early morning and have reasonable remembrance of Baba, but as soon as you come into action, we do action and we have a desire to get some reward, some response, some outcome. So we become influenced by our actions and our mind becomes absorbed. And to me, it's like really paying attention that I'm just an instrument. And when I come into action, really trying to keep that awareness of who I am and who Baba is. And that's where I honestly believe effort is just paying attention. It's just watching the millisecond my intellect travels outside, of Gyan and yoga and relationship with Baba and gets too far away, bring it back rather than let it go deeper and deeper and deeper into some other type of thinking. And that's where I think, attention is, really paying attention to what is happening internally is the essence of effort.
Because you have so many things you have to think about, organization, talks.
Yeah.
But still you can maintain that connection.
I once Baba met Daddy Nirmala Shanta, who is his Lokik daughter. And Baba said to her, and I often remember this, "You're busy, aren't you?" And she said, "Yes, Baba, I'm busy." Then Baba gave her drishti and said, "You're very busy, aren't you?" And she said, "Yes, Baba, I'm very busy." And then Baba said, "Many drops make an ocean, and each drop of remembrance." And you know what Baba said to her? When you finish a meeting and you walk out of the room down the passage, go to Baba. When you go to get a glass of water, go to Baba. All those little moments, those drops in the day, go to Baba. But when I began to practice that, I realized that when we meet somebody and walk away, we start to process what they said, how I felt. So it's good to process, but it should be done in a second and then go to Baba. But we spend so much time processing my thoughts and feelings when that valuable time I could be connected to one. And to me, in a way, that's the ultimate effort. As soon as I leave one scene, where you have to pay attention in a meeting, or if you're giving a talk, or if you're being interviewed by Pedro, like we are now, you have to pay attention. But as soon as it finishes, go to Baba.
Thank you very much. It has been really inspiring. I'm sure that all the Latin American family will be touched by this. And maybe I could ask you a final question, but I let you maybe send a message to all the family in the last 5 minutes, whatever you want to say to us. We'll be glad to hear it.
Thank you, Pedro. Really been lovely to chat with you. And I'm feeling that we're really in the final moments of the cycle. And that could be, a few years, but really 90 years almost of the confluence age is gone. What's important? And I feel for Baba's children, and when I say that, I think of myself first, to clear all your mental accounts with others, your Lokic family, the Alokic family, with good wishes and pure feelings. To me, that frees the soul to have a deep relationship with Baba. And I feel like it's a decision. Yes, people are difficult. Yes, people are rude. Yes, people behave badly. Yes, even some break Srimad. All of that is the truth. But if I allow it to influence me, what happens to my stage? And I feel the power of good wishes and pure feelings clears all my mental accounts with all human beings. And to me, that is so important if I want to have the deep yoga that we all want to have. This is the only time I can really know Baba, connect to Baba, and experience the highest quality of love. It's only available now. So to me, the good wishes and pure feelings really clears my mental accounts with everybody.
Thank you very, very much, Charlie. It has been a
My
pleasure.
pleasure, Pedro.
And
Thank
if
you
you
for
are,
having me, and love to all the divine family of Latin America.
I'm sure everyone will enjoy listening to you and will feel really inspired. And if you agree, we'll end up with a minute of silence.
Oh,
Remembering
that'd
now.
be lovely.
Om Shanti.
Thank
Thank you
you
very
so
much.
much, Pedro. Om Shanti.
Om
Bye,
Shanti.
everyone. Thank you.